Here's today's topic. Guys, here's the deal. Every now and again, something resurfaces from the blogosphere that I just see and I can't resist talking about. And it's something weird and it's something quirky, but something fun. This is one of those times. Boom, this resurfaced. No pun intended. Starving settlers in Jamestown Colony resorted to cannibalism. I'll be totally honest. Cannibalism and all that stuff kind of fascinates me. As does human history, as does odd behavior in human history. I am in many ways just a student of human behavior. And yeah, this fascinates me. I mean, what can I say? New archaeological evidence and forensic analysis reveals that a 14-year-old girl was cannibalized in desperation. The harsh winter of 1609 in Virginia's Jamestown Colony forced residents to do the unthinkable. A recent excavation at the historic site discovered the carcasses of dogs, cats, and horses consumed during the season commonly called the starving time. But a few other newly discovered bones in particular, though, tell a far more gruesome story. The dismemberment and cannibalization of a 14-year-old English girl. So they discovered these chops to the forehead. They're very tentative, very incomplete. So much is still unknown about the circumstances of this grisly meal. Who exactly the girl's researchers were calling Jane was, they don't really know. Whether she was murdered or died in natural causes. And whether multiple people participated in the butchering or it was a solo act. So they now have the first evidence of cannibalism in Jamestown, the oldest permanent English colony in the Americas. It's long been speculated that the harsh conditions faced by the colonists of Jamestown might have made them desperate enough to eat other humans, and perhaps even commit murder to do so. But the winter of 1609, extremely drought, hostile relations with members of the local Powhatan Confederacy, and the fact that a supply ship was lost at sea, and this is what put them in that position, and this was referred to as the starving time, and apparently they ate this 14-year-old girl. And you know, man, I'll say this. I think colonial towns are incredibly fascinating if you've ever been to them. Virginia in particular, because there's so much history in that state. My fiance's father lives off the eastern shores in Virginia, which is one of the smallest towns I've ever been to in my life. And I've traveled around a lot. I've been to some small towns. And this place was it was just fascinating to me because there were so many historic buildings, and it was just like you wondered about the early people that came to this place. And me and my fiance were looking for just a place to get a drink, and this is a place where the entire city pretty much shuts down at 6 p.m., so we were kind of desperate. There was this one Irish pub, because it's the kind of place where, if they don't have patrons, they'll just close. Even if they're supposed to stay open until, maybe 10 or something, if they don't have people there, they'll just close. That's how small of a town it is. So we were having a hard time. We would go to a place and they're like, hey, no one was here. We closed. You guys are, one of the only people here that, are younger. So we closed. There's a lot of retirees in this town. So we were like, shit, where is a place that's open? And they gave us this bar that was, 40 minutes away. And we're like, we don't feel like driving. So we found this art gallery, of all places, and it's run by this dude, and he's I got the vibe that he was kind of the cultural guy in town. He was kind of a dude where if there were any kind of eclectic weirdos that were looking for a sign of life, so to speak, that was where they went. They go to this guy's place. He would have open jam sessions in his studio, and he would just kind of sell his art. We ended up buying a couple postcards from him. And he was born and bred in the area. Born and bred. He was born in the area. That was a weird. So he's from there. And he's lived there his entire life. And he's a painter. And he's done a lot of studies on, some of the early civilizations. How people got there initially. Because it's, way out there. It's pretty much if you look at a map, if you look at Virginia, there's this, little sliver right at the ocean. You see ocean and you see, this little white sliver. White being for land, and that's this place. So to get there initially, they had to have, I guess, done it via land, and they had to have just kind of crossed over down into these shores. So there's a lot of really fascinating stuff about the people that got there initially, and he was kind of telling us a little bit about it. And Yeah, so I mean, I guess civilization is a very fascinating thing that I wish I knew more about. And cannibalism does have its place in human history. I mean, some of the early barbecues were of people. So I guess my question for the day is, man, if you were stranded on a desert island or something similar and you were in that situation, could you do it? Could you eat another person? Could you be like, hey, we're going to eat this person? Man, that's crazy to think about. I feel like if the situation ever truly presented itself, if we were ever in a situation where it was like, we're stranded, there's no sign of hope, we got to do what we can to survive, I have a feeling like people would volunteer. Like people would just be like, yeah, I'm going to take one for the team. You know, maybe like the oldest person, like, I don't know, like this is totally like an out there, like goofy fucking, like obviously I don't think we're ever going to be in this situation ever. But I feel like if that situation ever presented itself, somebody would volunteer. Like someone would be like, you know what, I am the oldest here. I've lived my life. If there was like an older person who was, you know, they'd be like, you know, let it be me. Or maybe, I don't know. I mean, this is a weird topic. This is a really weird topic. But I wanted to get your guys' take on it because it's something that fascinates me. Let's see what you guys are saying. If they were dead, I would probably eat them, some people are saying. Red Economics, I'm just in time for the cannibalism question. Yes, you are. I know, I did bring it up. The elders chop off their hands. Interesting. Edwin says, I'm vegan, so eat me. Edwin would volunteer. That's noble of you. Not Applicable says, save the kids. I'm going to call a life of cannibalism and off myself before I ever did such a thing. I think I might too, just because, yeah, like, I mean, when it gets to that point, you're so hopeless, like, you're all gonna die. You know what I mean? Like at that point, you're all gonna die. There's no doubt about it. You're gonna die. So, I would say, yeah, eat me, because I don't see how anything can get better. You know, like, I don't think I want to stick it out until the very last breath where we all starve to death. You know, because when you get to that point where you're like, we have to eat each other, like, you're going to die. Like, there's no chance you're going to make it. So I think I would be like, yeah, if you guys want to entertain some chance that we have any chance at survival, just eat me. Like, I would make my own Slim Jim commercial. Like, snap into a Ron Jim, eat me. Eat me. And they're going to be like, well, how do we get our news on? How do we get our news on if Ron... We were getting our news on here on this deserted island just fine. We had old newspaper clippings that we found, and we threw them at Ron. And then he read them to us. How are we going to be entertained in the mornings now if Ron goes away? And it's like, you guys will find another way. And then there will be another show called Get Your New Son with John, where a guy named John, who was also stranded on the desert island with me, was like, you know, hey, Ron tasted good. Anyway, let's get back to Get Your New Son with John. There's only 6 of us left, and there's like 2 people that are younger than everyone else. And they're both women, so I don't know how we're going to do this show anymore. But, you know, I don't want to fuck up the rhyming of it all. So it'll just be Get Your New Kid. Do you want to adopt this one? You're on board? Okay. The show's over. I don't know what we're going to do. All right. So anyway, I'm glad we solved this. Yeah, if it ever came down to that. I don't think it ever would, though. I think people would find ways to, like grow food, or there would be kind of a new, but I guess you never really know.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your